Hi everyone, welcome to Follow Your Heart here on the Natural Parent Magazine. I'm Anne Cullen. Today I want to talk a bit about starting solids and then that whole path of, picky eaters and all the early eating stages in your child's life. Now, it's sort of funny because this week's topic is gentle discipline. So you might be thinking, well, why are you talking about food? I thought you were talking about discipline here. Well, actually, I can really see how the two relate. And, we can either respectfully feed our children or do things a little bit more on our terms and not so much on our child's terms. So what we know is that children who are allowed to feed as much as they need to when they need to, really grow up to develop a much healthier relationship with food and also tend to be at healthier weights as older children and even as adults. So, this can happen fairly easily with breastfeeding. If you're breastfeeding off the breast, it can be very easy to just feed when they need to feed. It can be a little bit trickier with bottle feeding because we can see the food, the milk in the bottle, and a lot of times we want to really encourage baby to finish that milk so it's not wasted, or because we're thinking they need a certain amount. So I want you to remember that respectful feeding from the very beginning is just about noticing your baby's cues. Instead of worrying about the amount of time your baby's feeding or how much, if you can see it in a bottle, how much they're consuming, and watching the clock and all those rules, really learn from the very start to just pay attention to your baby. If they're pushing a bottle away or really grimacing or turning their head, they've probably had enough. So using nice slow-paced bottle feeding is great. Breastfeeding on demand or really on cue, and not following lots of rules around that. If you need some support with that, please be in touch. Now, when it comes to starting solids, then people are like, now we talk about spoon feeding and when do we do it and when can we start giving them food that they pick up and what's the best way, and we feel judged about which way we're doing it, and there's so much confusion. So let's clear a little bit of that up. First of all, we do indeed want to wait till about 6 months. There's no magic day. With my firstborn, it was like the day he turned 6 months, we gave him some banana. And you don't need to do it that way. You need to watch their cues around that time. With our next child, we really just got to the point where he refused to be distracted by toys or anything else when there was food around. And rather than mashing a banana up for him, we literally handed him a banana and he ate it with a bit of support. I did hold it with him, and he just took bites off of it. So he was more ready and, showed like he was not going to not eat when there was food around. So that's a great readiness cue. Also, just being able to have control over their bodies, sitting up properly, things like that. So if you're going to spoon feed, it's not that there's any rules about this, that you can't give purees or you can't spoon feed. That can be okay. There can be times when that's perfectly fine. So if you are spoon feeding, make sure that you're still really, really paying attention to your child's cues and you're not trying to quickly feed. Give them some time. Notice how most adults, at least this is what I notice, is that we sit down and it's just eat, 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 right? Well, if you pay attention to babies, they're much slower a lot of times. Of course, there's times when they're really hungry and they're like, give me more, and they're just shoveling it in. But they're much better in general at just really enjoying their food, really taking it as an experience, touching it is great. You know, it's the experience that they're after, not so much the calories. From 6 to 8 months, they really only need about 200 calories from the solid food. The rest, they're getting most of their nutrition in that first year from their milk. It slowly subsides over that first year. So just let them play, let them experience it. It's not about getting lots and lots of calories into your baby, okay? And this is going to carry on. If we are just respectfully putting food in front of our children, allowing them to take what they feel like eating, you know, notice the mood at your table. And I haven't always gotten this right. And sometimes you're going to feel like, please, 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 you need to eat more vegetables, or please, 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 you need to eat more meat, or, you know, or please stop asking for biscuits because you've had enough sweet food today. You know, so sometimes we do put some boundaries and rules around food, but the more you can take those rules away, the more you can just provide healthy food, put it in front of your young children and let them experiment, take what they want, rather than trying to, you know, force those things on them. And remember, we're the ones putting the labels on. So if you're saying my child is a picky eater because they'll only eat 5 foods or 10 foods or whatever, that's just your label. They're probably perfectly fine and perfectly healthy. If you really look at what they're eating over the week, most likely they're getting lots of different nutrients, lots of different food groups, and it is your job to just make sure they have access to all those things. I think snacking platters, or platters that you on the table where they have lots of different choices, make food interesting. You know, do you want to eat just plain food, or do you want to make it a little more interesting and playful for them? Either way, from the beginning, we really want to keep the pressure off of food, make food enjoyable, make eating times an experience, and not just about the nutrients and the calories that are going in. There's much more to eating than just that. So be curious, your thoughts, curious to know what you've done when it comes to introducing solids, and you know what you're doing about your so-called picky eaters and how you're managing that. So please comment below, write into us, let us know your experience. And if you have some more questions about eating times, I will be on live Friday, 1 p.m. New Zealand time, every week to answer these questions or any other parenting questions or breastfeeding questions you have. So join me live on our Instagram, 1 p.m. on Fridays. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Bye for now.